Now we have drawn all our objects. We need to add a label. We need to add a code for labeling and dimensioning of our objects. To do so, we must go back to our VBA editor. Here's our VBA editor, and here is our code. We need to add a code for labeling and dimensioning of our objects. We are going to start on the cycle, and to do so we must define a few variables to hold the test label object, the dimension object, and the point defining the and some additional points. So for the cycle, we are going to define a label, a dim object. For a cycle, I would take the diametric dimension object, and we are also going to define two additional array to hold the position of the diametric points. It's our two additional points. We will also, there's a point which I defined earlier. I will use that point. I will use this point to calculate the position of the label below the cycle. Test S1 value is a radius. I want it to be I want the label to be like just on the left of the center of the cycle. Loss test 1 value divided by 2, or I think I can actually do so, divided by 2. Yes, this is a x coordinate, and the y coordinate of that point will be, the y coordinate will be below, yes, no, below minus 120. Now let's add the label at the bottom, and the test string will be cycle, and the area. I will now get I'm rounding the value up, so I'm going to add I will get the area property of the cycle object, which is my cycle area, and I will convert it to meter squares. So let's just add to 1, round it to the 1, and let's add the unit, and the insertion point is that pp1, and the test height is, I will get it 40. I will take it as 40. Here is our label. Let's now add the dimension to the diametric dimension to our cycle. I will define the point that these 2 points will define now. I will use this variable here. These 2 variables I defined earlier. These 2 variables, I'm going to calculate the point. This is 2 points on the cycle. These 2 points will be on the cycle, so that if I draw the point, a line through this point, it will pass in the center of the cycle. so that and then I will calculate distance between these 2 points, which will give you the diameter. So chord 1 is equal to P1 and to P1. This P1 is the position of the center of the cycle, and minus text 1 value, which is the radius of the cycle. By doing so, and this is the x coordinate, the y coordinate will be the same as the y coordinate of the center of the cycle, and chord 2 will be the same, but this time plus the radius will be on the other side of the cycle, and the y coordinate will be the same as the y coordinate of the center. So these are the 2 points. Let's now add the dimension. I call it dim object. Dim object, just drawing diametric dimension. Chord 1 is the first point, and chord 2 and the leader I will put 200 millimeter. So this is our dimension. I will add some style to dimension, such as the test height, the color, the unit format, and so on. To do so, I will just do this, and with so the test height, the test color, I will call it here. The test height, I will give it 40 as well, and unit format, decimal, and the primary unit precision 1. I will get 10 after the comma, and then what else can you add? I will leave it this way for now, and let's quickly try this and see if there's no mistake that this slip in. Let's just try and see what we get. Let's try it. Call our cycle, give it 500. Here we go. Here is our cycle. Here is a label at the bottom, the name, the area, and so on. So we're done with the cycle. Let's jump onto the polygon and the rectangle. To add the label, it will basically be the same code. I will just have to change some few things. For the label, let's just copy this. Let's copy this here. For the position of the text at the bottom of the polygon, let's use the same position as point 1, and the y value the same, but a bit lower. Let's leave it this way, and the same for the rectangle. The same for the rectangle. This is done. Okay, I will just change some few things. Here should be a rectangle. Here should be a rectangle. And on here must be polygon. And for the polygon, I would also like to add the number of sides, and this will be the text box to value. Number of sides. Yes, let's concatenate. Okay. So let's just try test the label if we are winning. Polygon 5. Or variable with block node. There's just something wrong. For the polygon, our label as text. What? Oh. Yeah. This must be poly. Is a polyline object. This polyline object that we're looking for the area property. The same will apply here. Polyline object. Okay, sorry for that. That is okay. Let's try the rectangle. Whatever 800. So this is our label at the bottom of our object. Let's now add the code for the dimension. The code for the dimension for the rectangle and the polygon. So to do so, because the code to add a dimension on the rectangle and the polygon will be the same, and to make it easier, I'm going to create a procedure that I'm going to, like a function, but it will be a sub procedure which I will call in those two, in the polygon or rectangle section. This is our function. We define area to calculate distance. We are going to use it now, and I will create another sub procedure. I will create a sub procedure to add a dimension to our object. So it will be a sub procedure. We just call it align dim, and it will take one parameter which will be the align dim object. No, sorry, it will take one parameter which will be the polyline object. I'm now going to define some quick variable. So this is our variable which I'm going to use now. Let's first get our coordinate variable. Which one? This one here. We are going to use this to get the coordinate of the polyline object, equal to poly coordinate. Having the coordinate of the polyline, we are going to loop through this coordinate to get the point of each side, to get the 2 points of each side. And to do so, I will set it in such a way that it will go through 3 points at a time, so that we extract the 2 points, calculate the distance of the 2 points and the angle between the 2 points in relation with the horizontal. So to do so, we are going to set our for loop. I equal to 5. I will explain to you now why, starting from 5 to the upper bound of the coordinate array. Step 2, this means we're taking 2 points at a time. That's why I'm going step 2, not to go through the same point twice. So our variable we defined earlier, our array variable 0 is the x coordinate of that point, which will be called I minus 5, and y coordinate will be called 1 minus 4, point 2, point 3, this will be 3 and this will be 2, and point 3, this will be 1 and this will be 0. There we go. This last point I won't be using in this loop. I will only be interested in these two first point, which I will use to calculate the distance, the angle between the 2 points, and I will use this information to calculate the dimension position. As I said earlier, I'm starting from 5 so that I don't loop through the same point twice. But because if I loop through the same point twice, it will mess up our mentioning. So if I replace I with 5, here will give 0, which will be the value at index 0, which represent the x coordinate of the first point. And if I replace I with 5, this inside will be 1, which will be the y coordinate of the first point. If then I replace I with 5, it will be 2 in here, which will be the x coordinate of point number 2. And if I replace with 5, I will get 3 in here, which will give me the y coordinate of point number 2. and if you are doing in here also, it will be 4, which will be the x coordinate of point number 3, and here will be the y coordinate of point number 3, and so on. Using this information now, let's calculate the length between the two first points. The length between the two first points, I will use our function we created earlier, which 0.1, 0.2. 0.1 and 0.2. This distance having calculated, we must calculate the angle between the 2 points. I must define the variable to hold that distance. It was not defined, d length, and the angle will be utility angle from x-axis, and start point P1, P2, and the dimension position, dim position will be this drawing. Position is a point utility. A polar point, I'll get the polar point because you use angle. Starting point going from point 1, and the angle is P angle, and the distance is d length. So this is our dim position. Having these three values, we can now set our align dimension object. Here we go. Now if we stop here, it will only add the dimension to, it won't add the dimension to the last segment of the polyline or the rectangle. So to add a dimension to the last segment of the rectangle, we need to get the coordinate, the index of the last coordinate, which will be, it will be up 1, and the last point. Now we need to get the coordinate of the last point. I will get the same point. It will be P1. Remember here, the point 1 actually referring to the before last point, and point 2 will be the last point, and point 2 will be the last point of the polyline object. Having this, I will just copy this same information because it will be certain it will be the same. So this now will add the dimension to the last, will add a dimension to the last segment of the polyline object. Now I will also define a sub procedure to style To add some style to the dimension object, let me call it style dim, or it's better to say dim style. As it will take one parameter, which will be the dimension object, dim, align dim. And I will just do width, and I will add the text color. No. It must be the dim dimension object, this one. Yeah, like this. Text color, the text height, and give it 40 millimeter. Unit format, decimal, primary precision, unit precision 1, and suppress dim line 1, suppress dim line 1 true, dim line 2, suppress true, test alignment, horizontal, test position, center, vertical position, under vertical center, above. Let's do it this way, and not round distance. I think the test gap, that will be 20. Just put 20, and I will call this function in here, align dim. I will call it here and here. Now let's test our dimension, align dimension. I will call it in here. As I said, it's only for the rectangle and poly object. And I will also code it here for the polygon. Okay, let's try our code. Far side. Okay, here we have our thing running perfectly. So this is adding our, it says at the bottom it gives you the name 5 polygon side, is the number of sides is 5, and the polygon area is 4.3, so let's try something and see what is the problem. Here is our circle, and the rectangle, yes, our rectangle, and then that's it. This is how you can add dimension to your object. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next video. I will put the link in the description so that you can download the code, modify it as you wish, and enjoy it.